All right. So we're calculating this for attack. Oh. So when we do our inventory boost, we're looking at the things in the inventory that contain the attack effect, but we're probably counting things in the inventory that we don't want to because we put an extra hammer in there. And the hammer has a boost of 1. So we're definitely getting that in there. So we want to, for the inventory, do the same check we did before, which is and x dot inventory type equals inventory types dot keepsake. So inside of our inventory, we don't, we were talking about this last week, I think, or I'm sorry, Wednesday. If you're carrying on a bag of hammers, when you go to attack, we don't want to give you plus 20 attack because you have a bag of hammers. We only want to give you the bonus for the weapon you have in your hand, and then any keepsakes, your lucky rabbit's foot, whatever have you, that are in your inventory. So we do that check here. Let's run that again. And I think previously, it was a bug we didn't see, we weren't properly getting the our fists in there. I think we are now. Yep. So 8 for your fists. So the carpenter, if we remember, when the carpenter attacks, he returns, or he or she returns 7. We've got our fists that are equipped as our base weapon, or the hammer, or whatever have you, so we're adding plus 1 for that. We get our 8. And we can see that inside of our player. When you create the new player, they're naked, they get nothing in their inventory, and they only have their fists. And their fists, down the rabbit hole. Oh, not going to see it. The fists have an attack boost of 1. So Gary does 8 damage. Gary puts on a Sunday best. Gary fights again. And now our damage is back down to where it should have been, which is 17. Because we're no longer taking into account our hammer that's in our inventory but not equipped, our second hammer. So now our values look good. So that always feels good. Quite a bit of refactoring in terms of the actual composition of our classes, and reduced a lot of technical debt, and probably fixed, if not an immediate bug, the potential for bugs inside of our player class. And everything's back to looking very clean. We have our algorithm here, and we're good. Okay. Let's just do a quick sanity check as we go through. Players get created, they get a type, they'll get a strategy, they'll have their stats set, they get inventory, that's empty, they'll be naked, they have their fists. Alright, I think that looks good. For right now, these types of player inventory, whether it's wearable, a weapon, or a keepsake, aren't doing very much, but adding a bit of specificity, right? So they're saying, hey, if it's a wearable, it should also have this, in addition to being a player item. Weapon does nothing, and keepsake just has that its inventory type is keepsake. And let's do that. Weapon, because they should all have this to say what they are. Bring in that type. All right. Refactor, refactor, refactor. So wearable's good. Weapon now knows what it is. And keepsake is good. Let's close out a bit of these classes we've been jumping around to. Alright, the player factory, iPlayer, inventory types, our test hammer, our program. Okay. I don't actually like that the experience and level are here instead of iPlayer. I don't think we actually need them as a contract or an abstraction anyplace else. Let's get rid of those. And the idea here is iPlayer is an abstraction. So when we create a new player into the program, so Gary, and we type Gary dot, we only want to see the things that Gary can do. And the iPlayer interface offers a way for us to expose those things as an API. So we'll slowly start to peel away things that are being exposed and replace them with kind of these API calls. So like add inventory item, remove inventory item, equip weapon, equip wearable. Right now we can see things like health, hit points, intellect, all that stuff. And we don't really want to. All we really want to see is negotiate, remove item, repair, restore health. We don't stamina, strength. That's just noise. It's kind of a poor API because we're seeing that these things are bleeding through to our calling layer, and there should never be a time when something on the calling layer really cares to know directly what Gary's stamina is. We can have a call that exposes get stamina. That might also do a few other things that we'll look at later on, because we're going to be interacting with the game engine. And the game engine is most likely going to issue a request and expect a well-formed response back with a text response, with a double value, with a target, with a source. There's going to be a lot of information that goes along with that. Very rarely will our game engine ever care that stamina equals 10, for example. So, and that's really what makes the iPlayer this abstraction. So, we can fix a bit of that by taking the iActor interface off. and we already get it as a result of being a base actor. So inside of our iPlayer now, as an abstraction, iPlayer doesn't care what else is in here. So it's not as if by removing these things here, we somehow like orphan the relationship with this class. We can just supply access to those things. So we need access to name. So we're going to say string get name, and then we also need to expose fight. And double heal. Alright, so come back over to the program. Name becomes Gary.getName. And we have the health down here as a check. It was kind of a nice to have, but really we don't care. If we're ever in the game and we want to know the player's health, we're either going to have if it was a graphical game, we're going to want to have the API call because we're going to be building some HUD that's going to show it to you. And if it's a console game and it's based off a command, we're also going to want to format that response into some sort of nice menu or output that's color coded. And so again, from the calling layer, we're very, very rarely ever going to want to just have the return of health equals 20. So let's leave that for a second and fix the rest of the get names. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what we actually want the Hey Marty, yeah man, definitely fixing bugs before they appear. That's half of it. It's also a slippery slope, right? Because you don't want to over-architect and you don't want to pre-optimize things. That can be a problem as well, but something just makes sense. And a good point of refactoring is just to kind of clean out your closet, I guess is the best way to say it. All right. So, we've cleaned this up a little bit. We've got to now implement get name, which return back is name. Nothing crazy. So, again, very simple decision logic, as simplest as you can get. Return name. Now let's look at health. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's just double check this for sanity. Okay, so we've cleaned up our player abstraction. So what we're going to be using as our API, the way to interact, is add inventory, equip weapon, equip wearable, fight, get name, heal, negotiate, and resharper is